is financial education? It's a cliche term that everybody says you should fully understand, except it's difficult to get the right education out there through the traditional systems, through corporate America, through the system that's set up right now, kind of stops you from being able to get that right education. And so you have to go to outside sources to get that quality information. And, it's kind of a mystery, this financial education quote. And so I'm going to break down what I think financial education really means and what you should become proficient at to be truly financially educated. And my name is Mathew Owens. I'm a California licensed CPA and a full-time real estate investor. And I flipped over 1,000 houses now, run my own real estate business, have over 35 million lent out to flippers in different markets around the country. And we're here to just give you tips and tricks on real estate and to help you understand the different ways to run a business and make money in real estate and be financially educated. So let's get down to the nitty gritty of what I'm talking about when I'm saying financial education. So the very, very first thing that you should be proficient at is understanding your personal and your business financial statements. So understanding what they mean. What does proper accounting look like in the first place? What is your financial statements telling you that is happening? And so typically what that means is breaking it down in a bunch of different ways, looking at your balance sheet and saying, what is my net worth right now? What are my liabilities and what is my assets that I own? And the difference between the two is your net worth. So understanding what's your starting point? Where are you at right now? And where do you need to get to with regard to your net worth to be able to produce enough income to become financially free? So starting out with where you are right now is absolutely key to become self-aware of exactly where you are with regard to your assets and liabilities and what you own and what you owe. And then on the other side of things, your personal and company budget, if you're a business owner or running a business, understanding your monthly expenses going out and your income coming in on a monthly basis is absolutely key to your success. If you don't know those figures, you are dead in the water before you start. Okay. Most business owners, too, I'd say 90% of them don't have a good grasp over those specific items because there's volatility, there's annual charges, there's a lot of different things that need to be in place to be able to understand what your true monthly expenses are. And so what I would recommend is starting off with a personal budget where you can actually come in and write down, here is all my income sources. Here's where I want to be with my income sources and the other new income sources I plan on adding. And this is my expenses every month that I think that I have, which I can tell you right now, what you think you have is not what you have. Everybody gets this stuff wrong. And so being able to go back and outline every month what was my true expenses and compare that to what your budget was and say, what's my budget versus actual? Now, this does two things, right? It gives you clarity with regard to your true situation. Are you bringing in enough money to cover all of your expenses? And if so, great. How much are you able to put aside for your big ticket items, your vacations, your medical expense reserve, your, house extra payments, or, little things like that, or your car that might be coming up, so that you don't have a big expense that's unexpected? And do you have 12 months of expenses sitting aside for your living expenses at the very least, set aside as a reserve, right? So obviously we all see that that's a massive need to be able to have these safeguards in place where you got your buckets for your big items, you have your 12 months of expenses put aside, and then you also are focused on how much more money you're making every month compared to your expenses to be able to invest in additional cash flow streams so that you can retire off of those cash flow streams instead of trading your time for money consistently over here. So really key concepts to understand, and that's your starting point. But you got to compare your budget versus what your actual is. So everybody should be writing down their budget, going back and looking at all their credit cards and their bank accounts and all that every 6 months to know where they're starting from, and do that for business as well as personal, and separate the two so you know you're really truly spending and categorizing. And it really helps a ton to do a month by month comparison, which QuickBooks and a lot of the accounting softwares and things like that do for you. And if you're bad at that side of things, if you don't have the time, everybody has a reason why they don't have time for something. Of course, it is absolutely worth paying a bookkeeper to go set this up, and then getting a higher level person like a CPA or someone that's very, very proficient in accounting to review those bookkeepers' reports to make sure the bookkeeper is right as well, so that you get the reporting the way you need it to make the right decisions for yourself. Now, in addition to that starting point and knowing where you're at, being able to know these things and track them every single month puts it in your mind. So when you are buying something, is that a want or a need, or do you really need that item, or you really need to make that mistake on that bigger ticket item, or are you going to hold off? Now, the spending is one thing, the income is quite another. So you can keep your expenses in line and still spend a little extra and be okay, as long as you focus on the income generating activities. And everybody should have multiple ways of making money and setting that up correctly for the right systems for themselves. And this is the general structure of understanding your personal financial situation and what your goals are from a cash flow position, things like that. So setting up that personal financial statement, understanding the right bookkeeping is absolutely key. And then doing the right cash flow management and planning and looking at your capital timing. If you have a bunch of deals coming up, making sure that you don't go dip into your reserves to be able to cover those other items and things like that is very, very key to your success long term. And being able to have those right cash flow management techniques for your personal as well as your business is absolutely key to having the right financial education, and making sure that you're on the right track. So some of the other big ticket items are the tax mitigation strategies, like, for example, cost segregation studies, and being able to buy a property and front load the tax benefits into year one or the first 5 years, instead of depreciating it over 27 and a half years. If you have a big tax year this year, being able to do that. Now, you got to talk to your CPAs to make sure that it's right for you, but there's some massive tax deductions just by buying assets consistently, and then you can borrow funds off those assets in order to be able to take some of your cash back out of it over time and not pay tax on borrowed money like that, for example, when you are versus selling the asset and making a profit and then being taxed on that stuff. So understanding the right tax mitigation strategies, self-directed retirement accounts and things like that, so that you can mitigate taxes and build compound inside those retirement accounts, tax deferred or tax free depending on the structure involved. So understanding life insurance policies and how they can benefit you in different ways, 1031 exchanges, different real estate tax law issues, and even other business credit issues that exist out there, or programs from the government to be able to help you with your business in different ways, to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So, and then raising capital and understanding what the reporting, the compliance looks like, what the paperwork looks like when you're raising money, and how to protect your investors, the 1099s and the tax compliance, understanding what the different components are of raising capital for your deals to compound your growth to that next level, is absolutely a key financial education component to your success long term. Okay. So one other key thing is the proper due diligence on investments, understanding risks in different ways, understanding how to look at different deals and mitigate the risks, and understanding what risks exist out there financially is absolutely key to your right financial education. And you can get that understanding by talking to people who've done it a million times and saying, what risks are out there that I should be aware of? And look at all of your investments with those types of eyes as far as the risks go. And you'll be in a much better position financially. Getting the right advisors, if you don't have that right education on those things, is absolutely key. Understanding the right legal contracts and the financial burdens and obligations of those contracts can be key to your financial success. You could have your deals stolen from you. You could be making the wrong decision, giving someone all of the different benefits and none of the liability for a deal if you don't understand these contracts. So understanding the right legal contracts and making sure you have the right attorneys with getting your back if you don't understand some of the provisions. So I would review all of the different provisions in your operating agreements and your private placement memorandums that you're reviewing, in your joint venture structures and your promissory notes, so you understand the risks as well as the rewards inside those contracts and what your obligations are, what their obligations are in the contracts. Key financial education component. Okay, and then you have the insurance and risk management part of this. Do you have the right liability protection structures in place? Do you have the right insurance with general liability? Do you understand your insurance exclusions? Do you have the business insurance along with the property insurance in itself? What limits are inside those policies? What type of policy do you have? Do you have a builder's risk policy where they're going to cover all of it during construction versus a renter's policy versus a homeowner's policy? What are your car liability limits and things like that, and your auto liability limits for you as well as your company? So understanding these key things, and I would recommend everybody, even though they may not want to go get the actual licensing, go take this like certified financial planner courses so they can get a base knowledge in a lot of these different proficiencies and a lot of these different categories so that you can set yourself up for that right financial freedom. And when it comes down to the personal budgeting, that's the starting piece. You should be tracking every dollar you spend on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, categorizing it, setting goals for yourself with those items, and looking at that budget versus actual, tracking your credit cards and your bank statements. And there's some super easy ways to do this now. You can link up your bank accounts with QuickBooks and get a bookkeeper to do it. You can use Quicken. There's different apps like mint.com that you could utilize as well, where it'll sync with all your credit cards, and you just have to categorize a few things initially, and then it starts to remember those categories, and you can adjust and adjust a check in there or a cash deposit so that you can tell it where these items came from. And so you can get what your actual budget is and what you're actually spending super easy. You can even add your, cash transactions, like I was mentioning, if you're paying for transactions in cash, and that type of stuff can be, can be taken out that way. So absolutely key for doing that and planning for your taxes, of course, as well. This helps a ton with planning for your taxes, where it'll immediately start saving you money because you're planning for your taxes correctly and having all your expenses outlined in detail to hand off to your CPA to say, these items are deductible, these items are not deductible, versus you missing expenses or forgetting things and stuff like that you spent. Now you turn a lot of these items into business expenses as well and immediately start saving you on taxes. So these are the key pieces to the right financial education, including how interest works, how credit cards work, how debt works as a whole, to your benefit as well as to your detriment. Understanding some of the key components that, when you invest with these bigger companies out there on the financial side in stocks and mutual funds and that kind of stuff, that they make money on you whether you make money or not via the trade fees and things like that, where over the long term they're taking like over 50% of your total gains in the account with no risk versus you controlling all of your own financial future. You can self-direct your own retirement accounts and control everything and be able to actually go through and invest in real estate, in businesses, in pretty much anything you want to, other than life insurance and collectibles and a few other items, and not being able to commingle with your personal accounts and getting present benefit associated with your retirement account. So there is some really cool things you can do, uh, understanding the right financial education and understanding how investments work in as a whole. So this is the key to your financial future. So if I hope this helped you guys. If you guys like this, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll be coming out with more content for you guys consistently to help as much as possible. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.